Okay, I don't have too much time here because my wife's about to get home, and then we got a lot of stuff to do tonight and tomorrow, so I just want to knock this out real quick. So one of the problems with World of Warcraft is the lore, right? Oftentimes we can look at the later expansions and go, wow, this has really gotten out of hand. The Dragon Ball Z effect is just out of control. It's the next biggest, for real this time, world-ending threat, and the Kamehamehas are just getting, next level at this point, right? But I want to point out that there's actually an even more fundamental problem to the lore, which starts from the very beginning. I could tell you about how there is all these really awful problems with how magic works, and it's just kind of arbitrary. But let's just talk about one particular set of the lore called the Dragon Aspects. Okay, the Dragon Aspects are the Guardians of Azeroth, given their power by the Titans. And apparently about 20,000 years ago, right? The Primal Incarnates lead the Primalist Rebellion against the Dragon Aspects. And then they're sealed on the Dragon Isles, which, let's keep in mind, this means that at some point before this, the Dragon Aspects got their powers from the Titans. So all that Galakron stuff, that's all over 20,000 years ago. And let's be clear here, the Titans fought the Old Gods, so in this time, the Dragon Aspects know about the Old Gods, right? Now, ask yourself, did they know about the demons? And if so, when did they learn about the demons? It's possible they didn't initially know about them because it's a little unclear when Sargeras, in this timeline, actually turned on the Titans. Presumably it was after they did this stuff on Azeroth. But they certainly knew about the Old Gods. Right? And we at least know that they would know about we know for sure by the Sundering, which was 10,000 years ago. Okay? They knew about the Burning Legion and Sargeras and all this, right? So we also know, okay, ask yourself, how long do the dragons live? We know the Dragon Aspects themselves are immortal. They haven't died. But what about their kids? As far as we know, they seem to be pretty close. If not immortal, they still live for thousands and thousands of years, right? And now ask yourself this. From 20,000 years ago to 10,000 years ago, what exactly did the Dragon Aspects do? Right? I mean, at some point, they get tricked by Neltharion and this other stuff, but let's remember, these are basically immortal dragons who can have kids. Alex Straza shows the ability later on to have preposterous numbers of kids. Their kids are near immortal, extremely powerful magical creatures. So what do? They also know about the Old Gods. What do? Fucking nothing. Nothing at all. They don't do anything. They don't do anything from like 20,000 years ago to the Sundering. Okay, well, let's give that a pass. We don't know what's all going on in the world. Maybe they're still figuring themselves out. But following this, they know about the Old Gods, they know about their problems with Deathwing, and they know about these demons. They have also subsequently made the Night Elves immortal. And what do they all do from the year 10,000 to the Third War, when Archimonde returns and all this, right? What are they doing this time? Exactly, nothing. They don't do anything whatsoever. The only time that anything ever happens is in the War of the Shifting Sands. And in the War of the Shifting Sands, they have to fight the Old Gods back and blah, 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 right? So the Night Elves are also partially a problem in this, in that they know about the demons. And in this 10,000 years, remember, they're immortal. Yet they apparently don't think it's a good idea to have a bunch of kids. You'd think, hey guys, we're immortal, we're here to protect the world. Maybe we should have a bunch of kids so that there's a nice big army in case the demons come back. And in all this time, the dragons ever think, these humans over here, these people over here, you know what? We should send some people down and guide them, because you know we're immortals who know what on the side of good. But you know what? We're just actually, you know what the right thing to do is? The right thing to do is just to leave them to their own devices. Don't interfere. Don't guide them on the right path. Just kind of let them do their own thing. By the way, don't tell them about the old gods. Don't tell them about the demons. Like, you know, just chill on that. Let them all just fight amongst each other. Does any of this make any kind of sense? Because it really doesn't to me, right? Then it gets even weirder because like you also have the high elves. So let's also remember this. The high elves, Dathramar Sunstrider is the guy who like took some of the Sunwell or the Well of Eternity juice from Illidan or whatever, and that will later create the Sunwell and Quell of Loss, right? Dathramar. Okay. Apparently he must live for a few thousand years or something, but eventually he's presumably dies because the high elves seem to live for many thousands of years, but not immortal, right? His son is Anasterian Sunstrider, whose son is Kael'thas Sunstrider. That's not that many generations removed, right? Yet the High Elves don't, it's very unclear, but the High Elves don't seem to really be aware of their past with Kalimdor. They don't seem to be aware of demon invasions, and they don't seem to be aware of the old gods. So, some of them are aware of the dragon aspects, I think. If you're in, like, upper levels of Dalaran, it seems like some of them are kind of aware of this stuff. But, now think about the relative magical power levels of these dragon aspects too, and what they can pull off. So think about this long period of time they do nothing. They have a literal time-traveling dragon dude god named Nozdormu, and as we've seen throughout the lore, we time travel all the time. The Sundering story involves like an orc and a dwarf and some other people from the sort of modern era of World of Warcraft going back in time to help make the Sundering happen the way it's supposed to. We travel back in time to get the dragon soul at one point, or the demon soul, whatever you want to call it. And there's some arbitrary reasons why supposedly we're not supposed to time travel in other cases, even though then there's a whole time travel expansion. So at every level, you can see that the dragon aspects have phenomenal power, knowledge, and tens of thousands of years to do anything, and they do nothing. The Night Elves are kind of the same, and so are the High Elves, basically. But it just gets like, it's the worst for them, right? So when you kind of put this all together, you have to ask yourself, like, why do we take, like, how do you can't take these people seriously. You can't take, it's impossible to take the dragon aspect seriously. They are idiots. They are morons. It's the only, it's worse than that. It's like they're fundamentally brain damaged, and so is and they have like, they exude an aura of it, because everyone has to act in very stupid ways constantly whenever the story demands it in order for the story to work. So this is actually hugely problematic in the lore. And if you didn't read the books and didn't know about this stuff, if you played the games and then played WoW, you never really encountered the aspects until TBC, kinda. And Wrath is where they really came into the story. And I always say Wrath is where this game peaked, right? Which also means that's the downfall, because that's when it stopped growing. That's when it got, everything after that was the fall down, right? And I think one of the problems is that the dragon, the moment you think about the dragon aspects for more than a couple seconds, you realize that they are just endless giant plot holes. To say, and that's even without the Caverns of Time. When you add in the Caverns of Time, it's a gaping enormous plot hole. And I think if they really want this IP to be able to like move forward and really have traction and be something that people can like actually get into, like in fantasy, like you can see how this will work and even has mass appeal with something very dark like A Song of Ice and Fire. It was huge, like the Game of Thrones show, huge. And if you go back to some of the older lore and when a lot of these things are more mysterious, I think you could have made that work in Azeroth a bit more. Well, that's what I gotta go. But I'll finish this up later. But again, dragon aspects are dumb, and it's pretty. You don't need to